Now this was about fiqh. I think the question about the Taymi branch has to be in Aqeedah, the Taymi branch of the Hanbali madhab. I think this is an easy discussion. Ahmad, if you read his short texts, if you read his answers, Ahmad rejected all the Kalami methods, all the methods that rely on ilm al-kalam. This was his madhab, the madhab of as-salaf. All the Hanabila who followed the Aqeedah of Ahmad held the same position. The vast majority of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah's books are full of kalam. How can this be a branch of the Hanbali Aqeedah? If you want to say that the mutakallimin, the Asha'ira, they supported and strengthened the Aqeedah of Salaf by logical proofs, let's agree on that. But the method itself is different from the Hanbali method. The method itself is rejected and prohibited by the Hanabil. I'm not here talking about differences between Al-Asha'ira and Hanabil. I'm talking about what the Hanbali madhab is in Aqeedah. Such an attitude is not accepted in the Hanbali madhab. Let's stop at something that Shaykh Islam Taymiyya said. He said, I will say it in Arabic and I will try to translate it. لم أفاتح عميا قط في مسائل الصفات. He was defending himself and he was not debating, he was answering many questions by Ash'ari scholars at the time. And to defend himself, he said, I never opened the discussion of Allah's attributes with laymen. The Hanabila, the amount that they say in their aqaid can be said to anyone. And Ibn Taymiyyah himself said, the aqeedah of my ancestors from the Hanabila, this wasn't the most authentic aqeedah. It had mistakes. The man rejected. And he said, the aqeedah is not taken from Ahmad ibn Hanbal. The aqeedah is not taken from Ahmad, and it's not taken from those who are better than Ahmad. Because the aqeedah is a matter of ijtihad. مطالب يقينية. He realized that. Ibn Taymiyyah himself doesn't agree on that part of a Hanbali branch, Taymi branch of the Hanbali Aqeedah. The Hanbali Aqeedah is the Hanbali Aqeedah. Now,
so then, that being the case, then, can you explain how Ibn Taymiyyah's works are filled with kalam when the common understanding is that Ibn Taymiyyah is waging war on kalam? So can you kindly explain, to us how exactly is it filled with kalam methodology? Can you give examples, specific examples and general principles?
Ibn Taymiyyah wanted to refute the Ash'ari Aqeedah, wanted to refute the Shi'i Aqeedah, wanted to refute the Aqeedah of people who rely on al-Kalam a lot. And he studied their ways and he studied their madhahib very well. The discussion, this is the same position. The refutation of these aqaid might seem the same position that a Hanbali would hold. Let's assume this is correct. I am a Hanbali and now I want to refute the Ash'ari Aqeedah, which is not correct, by the way, and we can talk about this later. I am a Hanbali and I want to refute the Ash'ari Aqeedah. The discussion ends in like 2 seconds. This is not enough for. This wasn't enough for Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah. Shaykh Islam Taymiyyah had a dispute with the Ash'ari. This has to be done in their way, a way that guarantees a lot of works, a lot of books, a lot of debates maybe. Ibn Taymiyyah was the type of scholars who liked explaining things, talking a lot. That was the same thing that some of the Egyptian scholars said to him when they met him, or what some of the Egyptian scholars said about him when they were asked to debate with him, that he loved talking, explaining, presenting his madhab, because he had a lot of ilm. This is my opinion. This part, he had a lot of ilm, so he wanted to express all of that. There is no better way to refute someone's madhab than using their own tool, the Kalam. And he didn't want the discussion to end in 2 seconds, like the Hanbali discussion with the Ash'ari.
So is it accurate for me to understand here that Ibn Taymiyyah, he parted from the Hanabila in his methodology, but are his conclusions this correct? Would you say that the conclusions are the same?
I will talk about how the Hanabila, or the Hanabila after Ibn Taymiyyah, viewed Ibn Taymiyyah's position in Al-Aqaid. There was a disagreement and a lot of conflict between Al-Hanabila and Ash'ari before Ibn Taymiyyah and after Ibn Taymiyyah. And after Ibn Taymiyyah, the Hanabila they had always been a minority. Saying that Ibn Taymiyyah was not an Imam, was not Shaykh Islam, was not a scholar, this wasn't the Hanbali position. But they also didn't agree on everything that he said. They rejected a lot of his positions. And they have a way of doing this, and they all agree on it in a very strange way, as if they had an agreement or something that we didn't know of. They always take what suits them and their aqaid, which is the Hanbali aqidah, and say, قال Shaykh Yusuf ibn Taymiyyah, so and so and so. And Ibn Taymiyyah had a detail in this issue that contradicts with the aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and they would just omit this part and they would continue. You see, one of the greatest, not followers, but one of the people who really appreciated Ibn Taymiyyah, Safarini, he would do so, to omit parts of Ibn Taymiyyah's aqidah and mention other parts that do not really contradict with our aqaid. Al-Buhuti himself appreciated Ibn Taymiyyah. Al-Buhuti, Sheikh Mansour ibn Yunus al-Buhuti, in Rawd al-Murba', he did ta'wil of the sifat Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim, Sifat Ar-Rahman. He did ta'wil of this sifat. And in other books in the Hanbali madhab, he appreciated Ibn Taymiyyah and he called him Shaykh al-Islam and he defended him. They wanted to coexist with Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, rejecting the parts that can never be in our madhab, and this can be highlighted in a book called Al-Manhaj al-Ahmad في درء المثالب التي تنمى إلى مذهب الإمام أحمد. It's basically based upon positions that Ibn Taymiyyah said, and they were claimed to be Hanbali in fiqh, in aqaid, and in other things. And the author of the book, who was a Hanbali scholar, Al-Qadumi, said, these are not from the Hanbali madhab. These issues are not from the Hanbali madhab. They contradict with the Hanbali madhab. This is This is the climax. Before that, they did what I explained. They did what I told you. They would just omit parts of his aqidah, mention other parts. Now.
Okay, so they coexisted, and they, as I'm sure this happened with many people who are mujtahid fil madhab, and I'm sure that at the very minimum, Hanabila considered Ibn Taymiyyah mujtahid fil madhab, that they would agree with some of his ijtihads and disagree with other of his ijtihads. And so that you said then the bigger break in the sanad, so much so that you mentioned some of the sanad being a clean sanad as opposed to Muhammad Abdul Wahhab sanad. So that's where you would say there is a bigger break.
Yes.
Okay.